What should you do if your brand new TV has dirty screen effect? What if Amazon crashes and burns in 2 to 5 years? Why are TV nerds sometimes just the worst? When should you upgrade your OLED TV? And what can be done about FOMO? Answers to all of those questions and more coming right up. Welcome back to Just Ask Caleb, where if you've got a tech question, just ask Caleb. And you can do that by emailing it to askcaleb@CalebRated.com. Let's just get going, shall we? We start with Ryan Barnes, who writes in saying that he ran a dirty screen effect test on his new Hisense 85 U8 QG, and he sent photos along claiming that there's a horizontal section that appears noticeably brighter. Now, Ryan admits he never notices it during normal content watching, but he's worried that it could be a sign of hardware failure and is wondering if he should exchange it since he's still in the 30-day exchange window. So, for all of you out there watching right now, do not run a dirty screen effect test unless you are prepared to see something that you may not be able to unsee. A lot of us are like that. Even if you don't notice any kind of splotchiness when you're watching normal content, you know something is going on under the surface and it drives you crazy. Now, some of you might not agree with the whole ignorance is bliss philosophy, and generally speaking, neither do I, but in this case, I'll make an exception. Now, should you exchange the TV in a situation like this? Well, if it isn't a Sony Bravia TV, maybe not. I'll explain why Sony is the exception in just a moment, but most LCD TVs will have some degree of dirty screen effect. I think if you get a TV where it's real bad, like it looks like maybe it took a beating in transit, then yes, get it replaced. The odds are your replacement will be better in that case. But if you have moderate to light DSE, there's a good chance you'll be swapping 6 of one for half a dozen of the other. And when that happens, you've just put yourself through a whole lot of hassle. Now, Sony Bravia TVs are a little bit different because Sony has this super slick process that they showed us in Japan, wherein their Bravia TVs get run through a cycle. A camera analyzes the LCD screen for DSE, and then the processor is actually programmed to accommodate and eliminate it. It's insane to watch it happen. Now, this is also what accounts for slight variations in full screen brightness with those TVs. Anyway, all of this is to say, if you get a super dirty Sony panel, something is up and you should definitely exchange it. That Sony tax that you pay, it goes towards a guarantee of a super clean screen, and you should accept nothing less. With all the other brands though, like I said, LCD panels just tend to have some varying degree of dirtiness. So unless it's really, really bad and it's gonna bother the heck out of you, I wouldn't bother exchanging it. So going back to Ryan, you specifically, maybe it's just the way your photos are exposed, but I'm not seeing anything excessive on your TV. There doesn't appear to be a bright horizontal band in the middle to me. What I'm seeing is slight vignetting or dimming around the edges, and that is completely normal. I would not exchange your TV over what I'm seeing in the photos. It's just too much hassle. I don't think you can expect to get significantly better. What I'm seeing is definitely within tolerance for an LCD TV. So unless the truth is very far away from what I'm seeing, don't bother with the exchange. Also, shout out Ryan's Toes for making a cameo appearance in today's episode. You just made our foot people very happy, Ryan. Next, Dan writes in and says, love your new channel. Me too, Dan. Me too, thank you. And Dan continues, about to purchase a nice OLED TV in the near future. My question/concern relates to these on the various brands, Google, Tizen, WebOS, and Fire TV, AKA Amazon. He really likes the new Panasonic Z95A. He might have meant Z95B, the newer version, but doesn't really matter though. And he has some concerns with the Fire OS. He's wondering if 2 to 5 years down the road, what if Amazon crashes and burns or something like that? Would that make the TV unusable? So Dan, my man, if Amazon crashes and burns in 2 to 5 years, I think that's a sure sign that we are under siege in a zombie apocalypse, and the last of your concerns at the time will be whether your TV is still functioning normally. Now, look, Fire TV OS will continue to get supported for at least that long. Might not look the same then as it does now, but it will be supported. Also, the basic functions of the TV wouldn't stop. You'd still be able to access your inputs. So even if you get to the point where you just can't stand or can't use the the built-in Fire TV OS, you can plug a streaming stick or box into one of the HDMI inputs and just use something else off a different platform. Look, I harsh on Fire TV a fair bit. Amazon loves and hates me. But the truth is, it's not an unusable system, and the Z95A and Z95B are stellar OLED TVs. I love them enough to forgive them their Fire TV transgressions, and I think you can too. Next, okay, I need to take a deep breath before this one because I know I'm fixing to get riled up and I just don't need to. It's just TVs, Caleb. It's just TVs and nobody's gonna get unalived. It's fine. Okay, Ryan Smith says, I got an LG G5 early into its release when all the hype was happening. Then, a month later, all the negative things started coming out. Are these problems as prevalent as people are making them out to be? I'm on the verge of selling it. Sell your G5, Ryan? Really? Stop it, okay? Just stop. It's not your fault, but just no. Look, Ryan, all joking aside, I'm a TV nerd, right? I love my fellow nitpickers. I really, really do. They are my people. With that said, we are among the most pedantic, insufferable little twits on the face of the planet. RPG people might actually be worse, possibly, but love them too. But us TV nerds are right up there, and I can say that because I am one. I mean, come on. Now, to be fair, we should be calling LG out to make its best TV as good as it can be. That's important. But to consider selling one of the best TVs you can buy because some nerds are hyper-focused on those tiny issues? Here's the thing, we get fixated on certain performance aspects because we're trying to determine which TV is the best among a whole bunch of 10s. There are like 4 or 5 just ridiculously good TVs, the best. So how do we tell them apart? Well, we pick them apart, like the nitpickers we are. But we're still talking about the best 4 or 5 TVs that you can get, and the differences among them are razor thin. Plus, LG is gonna constantly improve on the G5 through updates when it's not temporarily botching stuff. Sorry, LG. But look, the LG G5 is a tremendous TV. Don't return it. And everyone, I want you to hear this now. Hear it first now because I'm gonna repeat it over and over and over and over and over until you are all sick of it, all right? Here it goes. There's no such thing as a perfect TV. All of them have quirks. You just have to decide which quirks you can most easily live with. I know that's not gonna look great printed on a t-shirt or a coffee mug, but dang it, if that isn't the most salient thing I've said on video in a long time. You know what is gonna look fire on a t-shirt or coffee mug? D's nits. Y'all think I'm kidding, I'm not. David Myers writes, hey Caleb, glad you're back uploading, man. As someone who called PDX home for 40 years, love seeing your B-roll outside. I love making B-roll outside, although the rains are coming and I don't know when we'll be doing that again. Probably not for a little bit. Anyway, David goes on, I'm debating when I should upgrade my LG G1. I've been primarily using it for movies and PS5 gaming sessions. I see even the C5 has higher peak nits than this G1, but what other metrics should I be looking at to determine if it's worthwhile to upgrade today? Well, David, yeah, you've touched on something I've pointed out a few times fairly recently. There has been enough advancement in the last few years that today's OLEDs are outpacing OLEDs from even as recently as 4 years ago. Not just in terms of brightness, but the C5 is packing a processor that's just as good as your G1. But I would say don't replace your G1 with a C5. You'll just get a slightly brighter OLED. I'd say wait it out one more year. When the G6 OLED is out, it'll be the second year of primary RGB tandem OLED, and by this time next year, the price on the G6 will be coming down. That will be a significant upgrade, and that TV should last a good long time. I mean, if you are dying to upgrade, far be it from me to stand in your way, but my gut says holding off and enjoying your G1 one more year is gonna make you feel better and more reasonable about the whole new purchase thing. Next, I think I can do one more. Man, this is fun. I'm glad we're doing this, guys. I really am. Jesse Z comes in with a long one, but this one is important, so stick with me. Jesse writes, hi Caleb, first off, I'm glad to see you back online. Your presence was definitely missed. Then he goes on to say, There was a period of about 5 years from 2017 to 2021 where TV updates were relatively incremental. All of a sudden, in the last 3 years, QD OLED takes off, MLA is introduced and replaced with tandem panels, Mini LED starts to close the gap, and then add RGB LED into the mix, and next year, that tech could start to become more affordable. And I know technology changes all the time, but I don't recall TV tech making this many significant changes this rapidly. I have an old C8, and only when the G4 came out did I really feel any need to upgrade. I know technology changes all the time, but I don't recall TV tech making this many significant changes this rapidly. I have an old C8, and only when the G4 came out did I really feel any need to upgrade. Now the G5 wipes the floor with the G4 in brightness and color volume, and that's just in 1 year. With how quickly and significantly these technologies are changing, I feel like any purchase I make today is going to be nearly irrelevant in 3 years. How does anyone deal with the FOMO of this current whirlwind TV environment? Jesse, thanks for sending that question in because I've wanted to attack this exact FOMO topic. No, not that FOMO, right away on this new channel. I get what you're saying. It seems like there's been this whirlwind of innovation every year the last 4 years, and when could it ever stop? Well, let's take a step back. First, I'm going to push back on the idea that the LG G5 OLED wipes the floor with the G4 OLED. It is true that the G5 is quite a bit brighter and has better color brightness by the measurements. And yes, if you put them side by side, it's fairly easy to pick up on those differences. But I guarantee you that most people who saw the G5 one day and then saw the G4 maybe 1 week later would not describe the difference between the two TVs, with that space in between the viewings, as jaw-dropping, if they remember any difference at all. And that's because both TVs are just gorgeous to look at. They're very, very appealing. The problem with technology is that it will always seem like the grass is greener on the other side. And because tech companies need to sell as much of the latest thing as possible, they will describe their new tech as revolutionary, a huge step forward. I mean, nobody ever sold a bunch of new phones by going up on stage in a black turtleneck and saying, meh, it's a little bit better than last year and $100 more expensive. We kind of wish you would buy it. It's their job to make it sound like the next great thing is too good to pass up. You gotta have it. No, you don't. I actually think more people should buy the AirPods Pro 2 than the new AirPods Pro 3. Hot take. So fight the FOMO. Buy knowing that the tech you get today will still be awesome in the future, even if the folks who sold it to you are acting like it's old news. Thanks so much for watching. What did you think of this week's episode? I like this one a lot, and I hope you did too. Let me know down in the comments. Like, subscribe, bell, hype. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, take it easy. I need you to zoom in on that shit. The more pixelated, the better. It'll be hilarious.